What up, peeps? It's Jojo Dat Guy, and welcome to. Oh, cool. Anyways, welcome to the channel. Something a little different is going to happen today. There might be a stream later on YouTube or on Twitch, but this is actually something entirely different. This is something I've never done before, so hopefully you guys enjoy the content that's about to come out. If you have read the, excuse me, if you have read the title of this video, this is an entirely different dynamic to what you're used to. This is not a gameplay. This is not a stream of gameplay. This is a story, a personal story of mine that I feel this is probably one of the best times to tell it because of the fact that we're coming up on Halloween, and this is a story that sat with me for several years, and it's a terrifying story that I don't like to bring up a lot. My friends know about it, but it's something that's definitely registered with me for the past several years of my life, ever since it happened. And I feel like since it's Halloween, I might as well tell a story. This is something it's entirely different than what I'm used to. This is not, like I said, this is not a gameplay. This is not me streaming and laughing. I might laugh during the story, but this is a true encounter of where I believe I encountered a demon. And before I get into the context of this story, welcome one viewer to the stream. Before I get into the context of the story, I need you to know this story is going to contain subjective opinions. This is from my viewpoint. I am a person of faith, so please, if you're offended by any of that, that's not my intention. I am merely telling you this story from my subjective perspective. Because it's all subjective. Like, I don't force or influence anyone's beliefs, religion, politics, whatever. That's not my intention when I do these kinds of videos. I'm merely telling you that when I tell you this story, it is coming from my perspective. This is not to influence you. This is not to insult any way you believe. It's merely subjective, meaning it's from my perspective. So please don't take that with a grain of salt when you hear certain things, because I'm not going to be insulting anyone like that. But I mean, like, you're going to hear things that you might not agree with because it's someone else's perspective, someone else's belief. So naturally, if you have problems with that or you struggle with that, go ahead and click off. It's not a big deal. But this is a story that I'm going to tell, and it's going to be from my perspective. So just keep that in mind. Like, keep an open mind. Okay, so like I said, I'm going to be telling the story of my personal encounter with what I believed was a demon, or not a demon, a spiritual entity, maybe even something evil, perhaps, because. Okay, so a little backstory. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Christian. I'm a man of faith. I believe in God. I read the Bible. I used to go to church. Not as much as I should be doing now, but I used to go to church a lot. And so naturally, I believe in good and evil. That there's a heaven, there's a hell, that there's a God, that there's a Satan. I believe all of that. But when it came to, like, ghost and things of that sort, basically the paranormal and supernatural, I didn't necessarily believe that they could manifest, meaning that they could physically touch you or, like, move objects. Or I was kind of a skeptic originally when I was younger, and as I started to get older, I believed in, like, positive and negative energies. I believe that spirits could perhaps manifest themselves around you in soul and, like, corporeality. But I never believed they could, like, physically touch you or, like, push you or move things. I didn't think they could move chairs, objects. I didn't think they could flip your cross upside down or slam doors. I was always so skeptical when I saw these movies and heard these stories. I'm like, okay, me personally, I've never seen anything like that happen. However, you also have to realize that everybody's experiences are different. And there's so many unexplained things out there that how do we know those people haven't encountered these things? How do we know they haven't encountered these things? Because we're not them, and we don't see anything from their perspective. And if we're not there when it happens, what can we say if this happened or not? So I began to have an open mind the older I got, because it's like, all right, people are talking about personal encounters with ghosts, demons. People are going even farther left. Bigfoot and Mothman and Cthulhu. And to me, these stories are always so fascinating because who knows what's really out there? I mean, we don't know our seafloor. We don't know our forest. We don't know space around us. There's so many unknown entities that we don't know. we do not know scientifically, physically, theoretically, whatever you want to say. We do not know what's out there. So, who's to say this stuff doesn't exist? So, for the longest time, I was skeptical, which I know that's kind of funny. I'm a man of faith, and you believe in miracles in the Bible, and the Bible's got some very fantastical stories. So, naturally, you're like, well, you believe in this, so it's kind of hypocritical that you don't believe in like spirits and stuff like that. Totally makes sense. I'll eat crow on that one. But I was always so skeptical about that part of it, like physicality, like being able to touch you, push you, breathe on your neck, or possess you. I was always so skeptical about that. But the biggest thing that I believed in that I thought was possible was demons. Because demons, if you believe in the Bible, demons are real. They can manifest. And not only can they manifest, they can possess innocent people. They can violate innocent people's bodies, which is terrifying. So you see these movies like they supposedly based on true events, like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, The Exorcist. You see the Conjuring films, which are supposedly based on real life stories. Like The Conjuring has to do with the cases of Ed and Lorraine Warren, and The Exorcism of Emily Rose supposedly really happened. So I am terrified of those films because if you're a person of faith, you believe in evil and you believe that demons can violate innocent people's bodies. And it's terrifying to think that you can literally be so brought out of your element that someone could literally violate your internal soul. To me, that is one of the most terrifying things that I've ever heard. So, excuse me. So to me, I've always avoided those kinds of movies because, to be honest, I was kind of terrified of them. But again, I was always very skeptical because me personally had never encountered anything of that sort until I did. And like I said, people are going to probably be like, "Oh, whatever, you're a quack, you're a kook, you're crazy. You didn't see anything. There's no such thing." Totally agree. You can have those kinds of opinions subjectively. And frankly, I don't care. You're allowed to call me whatever you want. I'm just telling you that this is what I thought happened and what I saw happen. So, I'm going to get into the story now, but first, let me set the setting for it. So, I don't know if other states, counties, like, like a county, or county, state, stuff like that. My local county has a fair every year, like a county fair. I don't know if other states have county fairs. I just know the state of Ohio has county fairs. So, every single county has their own fair every year. It's once a year. It's like a week long. It's where people can come and show their animals. So there you can show animals. There's like live music. There's vendors that are selling food. People that are locals are selling their own crafts. Like you have vendor tables. Churches are out there talking and trying to spread the word. There's just so much things and so much content to go to these fairs and consume that there's literally something for everyone. The political parties are there peddling their political beliefs. There's literally stuff that everyone can enjoy. So think of like your everyday carnival, but our county fair is literally called the Little State Fair. So think of the Ohio State Fair. If anyone's ever been to Ohio State Fair, think about how large that is and maybe just minimize it to about a third of that size. And that is probably our local county fair. Of course, I'm not going to say the actual county, but those of you who live in Ohio, you might have an idea of which county that is. There's a reason it's called the Little State Fair. So anyways, I'll just call it our county fair for the sake of this story. So at this county fair, there is, like I said, there's all sorts of different activities. There's an arcade. There's people come and show their animals. There's live music playing. There's demolition derbies, tractor pulls. There's plenty of food. There's plenty of games to play. They're out there peddling their wares. And local vendors and locals come set up tents so they can sell their crafts, art and crafts they've created, and establish brands. Churches are there trying to spread business, local businesses, so that you can check them out because we had one of the highest influxes of traffic, meaning so many people were coming through there. So there's something for everyone. And one of the things that was available at this fair was a fortune-telling booth. So this is where the subjective opinion comes in. And again, I'm not making any offense to anyone, but I do not do tarot readings. I do not do fortune telling. I do not do seances. I do not do Ouija boards. Me personally believe, so don't take any offense to this, that I believe that is witchcraft. And for those of you who read the Bible, witchcraft is works of the devil. So you don't mess with dark forces, if that makes sense. And even if you're not, even if that itself is not dark forces, it's allowing you open to dark forces. And again, that's a subjective opinion. So if you're a tarot reader, this is no offense to you. You have every right to do whatever you want. I'm just telling you from my experience, from what I've read, and what I believe. So please, don't take any offense to this. Like I said, entirely subjective. But we believe that that is witchcraft. So people of faith, well, at least in my particular religion, do not mess with that. Because we feel like that's inviting dark forces in. So to that extent, I will agree that, what's it called? Oh, my music's still going, sorry. Hopefully everybody, that wasn't playing the whole time. But, so we avoid that. We avoid the dark forces, quote unquote dark forces. We avoid witchcraft. We avoid fortune telling, tarot reading. We don't do that stuff. But anyways, so to put in perspective, this was a fortune telling booth. However, I didn't know this was a fortune telling booth because typically you see the big sign that says like, "Ooh, we'll tell you your fortune for $1 or whatever," and they'll have like the big wooden sign up, and you gotta look at it. And you're like, "Oh, okay," but I didn't see that. There was literally just a tent. So the tent was set up. I don't know. It was probably I have no idea about length or measurement, but it was one large tent, and two separate rooms were in the center. And in those rooms were a chair on one side, a table, and then two chairs on the other side. So there's two chairs facing towards the walkway where you're standing. Well, not facing, but like that's what's closest to you. A table, and then one chair behind it, presumably for the fortune teller to sit back there and read you your fortune. The tent was empty. There was literally no one in the tent. You could see into the rooms. The curtains were slightly closed, but you could see into the rooms. There was nobody in there. So I thought the place was empty. Like, I didn't think a thing of it. So I just kind of looked. I was curious. You know, I wasn't going to get my fortune read, but I was curious to like look into the tents to see if anybody was in there getting their fortunes read or if the tellers were in there themselves. Like I said, both those rooms, even though the curtains were slightly shut, there was nobody in there. You could clearly see it was empty. So, however, in the front, in the center of the grass, between these two entrances of these like rooms, of this tent, the overall tent, like so dead center in the front of the tent, like near the walkway as you're coming through, was this big glass box. It was just this big glass box. Think of it like a jewelry box, but it's like a rectangle with a pane of glass on the top. So it's almost like it's like a jewelry counter, like K Jewelers or whatever. You're like leaning down in it and you can look at it. And on this box, there was a viewfinder. Like basically, it's like magnifying glass, like eye goggle thing you can like lean into, like a viewfinder. So to put it in perspective, there's the tent, the box is in the front with this sign that says "Look in," like look into the box, and there's this viewfinder on the front of it. Well, naturally, I was curious. Like I didn't know it was in the box, so I freaking hope. I've been talking this whole time, and my mic's not even plugged in. I'm talking through the audio of the computer. Hang on a second. Hopefully everybody's been able to hear me this whole time. I'm actually going to check to make sure my audio's been playing. Hopefully everybody's been able to hear me. Testing, 1, 2. Okay, I guess I'm still, you can still hear me. Wow, rookie mistake. Hello. Testing, 1, 2. Wow, I've been talking for like 14 minutes, so hopefully everybody's been able to hear the whole story until now. Freaking dagnabbit. But anyways, I don't know where I'm talking through, but I guess everybody's been able to hear me. So in the front of this, like I said, setting the scene, there's the sign, there's that says "Look in." There's the glass box with the viewfinder on top. So I walked forward and I leaned into the viewfinder because I was curious about what was inside. So I leaned forward and I looked inside, and what I saw had to be one of the most unsettling things that I've ever seen. So I don't remember exactly what this said, but I was so disgusted by what I was reading that I literally was like in shock. And what this was, it was a newspaper, and the front article was about the Titanic. So curiously, I was reading this article, and like I said, the viewfinder allows you to kind of zoom in so you can read the text. And the title was something like something amount of souls sacrificed on the ship. And I was like, sacrificed on the ship? That's strange. What strange wording to talk about this tragedy that happened on the Titanic. And I started reading the article, and this definitely could not have been from an actual newspaper, because this article was so biased and so judgmental and terrifying that there's no way this could have been published. I tried to look for a publisher on the front page. To be honest, I was so out of it at this time that I don't remember what newspaper this was. I just remember it was a physical newspaper, so it could have been faked, could have been manifested for that sake. Like, who knows? Could have been manifested for that sake. Who knows? But hopefully you've been able to get this time. But it was this article about the souls on the Titanic being condemned to hell. It was this terrifying article about all these people that they committed all these sins, and they were like and they were burning. Their souls were burning on this ship. And I was so terrified by the wording of this article that I literally could not pull away. I was so unsettled by what the newspaper was saying that it was one of those things, like it was a fight or flight response. And honestly, I didn't run, so I was just frozen. And it was one of those things where you're so shocked you had to keep reading. So I continued to read this article, and like I said, I can't remember exactly what it said, but it was this just terrifying article about judging and condemning these souls that were on the Titanic, saying they were sinners and that they were burning in hell. And I kid you not, this next sequence is going to sound so ridiculous that you're going to think I'm making it up, because it literally sounds like something out of a horror movie. I kid you not. So for context, you guys remembered the fortune-telling booth was empty. The two separate rooms were empty. No one was in them. No one was near the tent. No one was near me. I was alone with my two buddies. For sake of the story, I'm going to call them Matt and Dill. I was with Matt and Dill, and they were standing next to me as I was looking in this viewfinder box. So they're standing off to either side of me. So neither one of them even nudged me to like warn me for what's about to happen. Dill didn't say anything. Matt didn't say anything. So I was just standing there looking in this viewfinder, and there's no one around. So, but I took my eyes off the front of the tent. So like I'm looking down into this box. Like my entire vision's being taken up with this viewfinder. And so I finally got out of the viewfinder, like I backed out of it, and I look up. And I kid you not, this sounds like something straight out of a horror film. There is an elderly woman standing directly in front of me. And I'm talking almost like the distance of the box. I don't know how big it is, but imagine she's standing on the other side of this box. So she's literally right there in front of me, like close enough to where I could make out the wrinkles on her face. And so I look up, and naturally I'm startled because this woman just appeared out of nowhere. She didn't make a sound. She literally did not walk from anywhere. She did not make a noise. She did not breathe. She did not cough. She literally just showed up right in front of me. And I was so startled naturally that I jumped back and I'm like, what the fudge? Where did you come from? Didn't say that, of course. I just kind of stuttered like a stupid idiot. Like, because one, I was still registering what I just read. And all of a sudden, this freaking woman, straight out of a horror film, pops up in front of me. And so I'm still dealing with the emotions of the article I was just reading. So it's like, imagine the mixture of emotions and facial expressions I was probably making at that time. I'm sure it looked really amusing. It probably looked like I was having a seizure because I was just going through so many emotions. But the biggest one was fear. As I was reading this article, I don't know if I've ever experienced dread, so I can't tell you what dread feels like. But I feel like that experience, that emotion that I felt, was the closest to dread that I think I've ever felt. It was like my body was in this like fight or flight instinct. Hair on the back of my neck was standing up. I was so unsettled, like I was being watched, which of course naturally this woman walked up at some point, so I was being watched. And so, like I said, I look up, and this elderly woman is standing here, and like I said, she looks like she's straight out of a horror movie. She's got like super long gray hair. Some of it's like covering her face. Her eyes look black because of the fact that the hair is shading her eyes. Her eyes just look pitch black. She's like kind of like this angle, so you're kind of getting this angle of her face, and she is just staring at me, smiling, this creepy grin, and she's got her hands like, if I remember, some of this might be what's it called, sensationalized because I can't remember personally, but I believe her hands were clasped like in front of her, like this, like down below about her waist, about her stomach, and like she was like this, and she was just looking at me, smiling. I guess I don't know if she was waiting for me to say something about the article or if she was just finding it amusing how terrified I was, because she looked like she was having the time of her life, watching me be this afraid. And the next sequence of events, I don't remember exactly very clearly. I don't remember exactly what was said, but I do know she said something like, "Have you come for me to tell your fortune?" And so after I got over this fear, because like I said, I was just standing there going, bop, 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 look like a fish trying to gasp for air, I finally started collecting myself. And the craziest part is I looked at Matt and Dill. Neither one of them jerked back, stared at this woman. This is what starts to get weird, and this is why I thought it was something different, because Matt and Dill weren't even acknowledging this woman. They were like, Matt was like looking around, like watching the people go by. Dill was just kind of on his phone. So no one was acknowledging the fact that freaking Blair Witch just popped out of nowhere and scared the daylights out of their friend. And so it's like, that's already odd, because I feel like my friends would probably be startled that this woman just popped out of nowhere, especially when this tent was empty. So that's establishing that scene. Matt and Dill are paying no attention. And so I'm already unsettled by that, because I'm like, naturally you would think like someone's going to acknowledge the fact that this woman just popped out of nowhere. And so she says something like, "Can I tell you your fortune?" Well, after I collected myself, I finally said, "No, I don't believe in that. No, thank you. I don't want my fortune read." And this woman, and this is where it got insanely creepy, was she smiled again, and she said something like, "But I can tell you where you're going to go." So me, I was so scared at that moment, because that's a very ominous thing to say to someone. As a fortune teller, can you imagine if someone you've never met before, especially someone sensationalized like this fortune teller, looks at you, this lady straight out of Blair Witch looks at you and says, "I can tell you where you're going." Who in their right mind wouldn't be unsettled by that? However, I'm someone that doesn't like when people judge me and my place. So not only was I scared, but a little bit of me started to get a little stubborn and started to get a little annoyed. Because I've had people like fortune tellers tell me that stuff before, and that's something that always flares me up, because it's like, you're not going to tell me where I'm going. So I got defensive. I said, "You're not going to tell me where I'm going. The only entity that can tell me where I'm going is God. Only He can tell me." Well, this lady, I'm kidding you not, she kept smiling at me and kept saying stuff, like, "Oh, I know where you're going. I know exactly what you're doing, what you've done. I can tell you where you're going to go." And so, again, I flared up, and this is where subjective opinions came out, because this lady was literally threatening to scare me. So, and I was not having that. So I said, "First of all, I know your shtick. I know your game. People pay you money, you take them in there, you tell them they're going to go to hell, then you scare the daylights out of them for your amusement, or you give them some cockamamie story that their life's going to go great. You are not a genuine fortune teller or anything of that sort. You are just a con artist. You are literally just going to con these people, terrify these people, or gaslight these people, and take their money. That's literally what you're going to do." So I got defensive, and I shot that back at her. And she didn't get offended. She didn't get mad. But she continued to smile, this horrifying smile. And it's at this moment, as this conversation's happening, that I begin to notice the air around me is strange. It's like very thick and heavy, like syrup. That sounds so stupid, but it's honestly like, and everything around me was starting to move in slow motion. Like people were like walking really slow. I look at Matt and Dill. Matt's kind of like, again, looking at the people around. This entire conversation, they're seeing how heated I'm getting. Matt and Dill are still not acknowledging this woman. They're still not acknowledging this woman. Dill is on his phone over on my right, just like, absentmindedly doom scrolling. He's not really paying a lick bit of attention. Matt's, again, like, twiddling his fingers, like, people watching. Nobody is, and everyone around me is moving in slow motion. And it seems like the only two people that exist in this moment is me and this woman. And it literally felt like I had stepped into some weird, bizarro world where I was outside of the environment I was in, and I was trapped in this moment with this woman. Like she had pulled me into something. Sounds crazy, I know. Absolutely. Like people probably think I'm a psycho, but it's like in that moment, this is the only time this has ever happened in my life. In that moment, this woman had some sort of terrifying pull. And so she continued to tell me these, and like I said, she didn't get offended by the stuff I said. She just continued to threaten that stuff. And eventually, and she kept saying these cryptic messages about, like, I can tell you, I know the things, I know that stuff. It's not like your typical fortune teller where they act like a normal human being. She was literally acting like your stereotypical, like, oh, I know where you're going, and saying all this cryptic nonsense. And, like, typically that would look ridiculous, and most people would probably laugh at that. But this woman had this atmosphere about her where it literally felt like she was giving off evil. There is this terrifying negative energy. Like, I guess put into like hipster terms, there was this like terrifying negative energy coming off this woman where you're like, this is not a person I can trust. This is a bad person. This is not a fortune teller who's like, oh, I'm gonna like has fun telling fortunes, whatever. Your typical fortune teller who acts like a sane human being. Well, besides the fact that they're telling fortunes, but you know what I mean. They'll talk to you like a human being. This woman was not talking to me like a human being. She was talking to me like a weird witch you would see in a horror film. And she had this atmosphere. Like, I believe, like I said, I believe in positive and negative energies. Like, I've definitely met people who are like people of like such a bright light around them. Like, it feels like they give off this great energy that makes you want to smile, makes you want to laugh, makes you want to enjoy their presence. Like, I believe in that. This person was the exact opposite. This woman was giving off this negative energy that was so foul. It was making the air around us heavier. And it was literally slowing down everything around us. So me and this woman continued to bicker back and forth. And like I said, I was terrified in that moment, but I was also very defiant. I was not going to let this evil presence justify or tell me who and what not to believe in, and also where I'm going, because the only entity that can tell me, that can place that judgment on me, is God. So I was very defiant in that moment, but I was also terrified. I was the most scared that I've ever been in my life. I've never been that scared. I've never felt so vulnerable and helpless and small, like a wounded animal that this predator was trying to like crawl up on. It was just terrifying. Well, finally, I don't know if it was me. I don't know if it was divine intervention. I couldn't tell you, but the spell finally started to break. Like, to put it also with how the world was slowing down around us, so did the sound. So the first thing I remember hearing was the rushing back of sound, almost like I was underwater and like I came above the surface, and you know how sound is muffled underwater, and then you come up and everything sounds nice and clear. It literally sounded like the sound rushed back, like a movie, like, and then it's like up to regular noise again. All the like 10 of the atmosphere behind me, the ringing of the games and the carnival rides, and people screaming and laughing and people talking behind me. Dill and Matt finally were like looking around. Like, again, they were still looking around, not really looking at this woman. And I just kind of jerked back and just kind of said, all right, guys, let's go. Like, I left it at that. I didn't finish my conversation with this woman. I kind of just abruptly cut it off. as this sound was coming back and as everything started speeding up to normal speed, and just kind of grabbed my friends, and we just left. And as we walked down the walkway, this woman just stared at us. Stared at us all the way down the path, until we rounded the corner. I never saw this woman again. I went past that booth so many times, and I never saw her again. There were other people there. I never thought to go and ask them about this woman, but literally, there were other people there. People much younger, people that were middle-aged. They telling the fortunes, and again, they had a much more like presentable, approachable air. They didn't have this like dark energy. They were just people, telling fortunes. They weren't being like creepers or whatever. But this woman was never at that fortune booth again. That fortune booth has been there every single year, and I have never seen that woman since. And to make things worse, and to make things even creepier, was as we walked away, Matt and Dill pulled me aside and said, "Hey man, are you okay?" And I said, "No, not really. That was one of the most horrible experiences of my life." And I told them what happened. And of course I was like shaking. I felt ill. I felt sick. I felt like I had literally had life drained from me. I felt so ill. I felt so sick. I felt like I was going to vomit. It was just terrifying. And Matt and Dill proceed to give me this like confused, like questioning look. And they're like, "None of that happened." And I was like, "What do you mean?" I had this like 3-minute conversation where I fought this woman on her wanting to tell me my fortune and me telling her that she's a scam artist and her getting these dark cryptic things out. From Matt and Dill's perspective, this is how that whole scene went down. So from my perspective, like I just said, I looked down, looked up, the woman was there. I kind of startled, jumped back. We had the conversation for like 3 minutes. And then I backed up because I was scared and said, "Let's go, guys." From their perspective, this is what they saw. And even to this day, I'm trying to physically explain how this happened. I was looking in the viewfinder. So they remembered me looking in the viewfinder. But then when I looked up, I jumped back and said, "Let's go, guys." So literally, from their perspective, this 3-minute conversation never happened. This conversation where she asked me these questions, they said she never spoke. They said all that happened was I looked up and I jumped back and said, "Let's go, guys." And that's all I said. They said that woman never addressed me. I never addressed that woman. They never heard any of that conversation. And to this day, I'm trying to figure out realistically, like, how they would not have heard that conversation. Like, maybe they weren't paying attention. Because, like I said, Dill was on his phone. So maybe he was doom scrolling. He was, like, watching TikTok or something. I don't know. Maybe he just wasn't paying attention. So he didn't hear the conversation happen. And he just happened to see me jerk back. And just the movement out of the peripheral of his vision, like, startled him. Like, oh, he jumped back. He must be startled. Let's go, guys. And Matt was just staring around, looking at the crowd. So, again, maybe he was just not paying attention. Because, like I said, this was a brief conversation, but it felt like it was like a half hour. But it was literally like a 3-minute interaction. She tried to tell me this, I told her that. It was a back and forth, and then I said, "Let's go, guys." So maybe he missed the conversation too. Maybe I jerked back, and once again, he like turned around as I like jumped back, and he saw me move out of his peripheral too, and was like, "Oh," he said, "Let's go, guys. All right, we're ready to move. Let's go." So maybe the window of me talking to this woman, they just weren't paying attention. Like, maybe they didn't hear the conversation because it was, like I said, it was very loud. So you would have had to almost be, like, right up on me to hear me talking to this woman. Because the din was very loud. But, like, the atmosphere around me. So maybe, but even to this day, I'm trying to realistically think how they could have missed the entire conversation. And my thing is, did I imagine that conversation? Did I hallucinate this conversation? Was I just so scared from what I read in that newspaper that I literally just manifested? Like, this woman was there, but I manifested this conversation, and so I kind of got scared. Like I got caught up in my mind, like I was freaking out. So I'm trying to rationalize, because that's also, I have a rational brain in some senses. But it's just some things you can't explain. Like, the biggest thing I have trouble explaining is the raw terror. It's the matter of feeling so small and vulnerable. Even if I could explain the slowing down of the noise and the air around me becoming heavy and the fact that Matt and Dill never acknowledged this woman, even if all these things could be rationally explained, the thing that I cannot rationally explain was the feeling of raw terror, the feeling of vulnerability, the feeling like I was a small prey animal that some predator was stalking. This primal sense of dread where I just felt like I was going to die. I don't know if that just came on because of the article or maybe because I was feeling vulnerable because I'm someone who struggles with social anxiety. So maybe that was already manifesting and it just kind of went up to an 11. You know what I mean? Like I just got anxious and stressed out. I don't sleep well, so maybe it was just a sleep brought on hallucination. To this day, I still do not know. I've never seen this woman again. None of my friends have ever seen this woman. And even to this day, when I see that fortune telling booth, I get cold, I get clammy, and I almost start to have panic attacks because I remember that night, even to this day. So it's like, I can't rationalize it. And it's weird. But it's an interesting story because nothing's happened like that since. I hope it doesn't. But I do believe in honesty because I'm a man of faith that I encountered, if not a demon, an evil entity. Because there are so many things in this world we can't rationalize. There's so many things that are just unexplained. Disappearances, um, murders, missing people cases, encounters with cryptids and creatures and ghosts and demons and goblins, blah, 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 so on and so forth. There's just so much that's not been explained by science and so much that's just not been rationalized. Now, I'm not a guy out there that's like, let's go hunt Bigfoot. But I am someone that's like, I'm not going to pass judgment on a person who thinks they've encountered a cryptid or creature or ghost or goblin or spirit or whatever, because I believe I encountered a demonic entity. So there's that. So yeah, that's my story. And like I said, it's just a personal encounter from a subjective perspective. So naturally, no one's got to believe this because you weren't there. So you have absolutely no reason to believe this. You could be like, whatever. Like, that's just a fake story. Like, whatever. He's lying. He's trying to get attention. Like, you've seen the kind of content I put on here, so that's absolutely not my intention. Because wouldn't I be posting more like this more often? Now, I've been wanting to tell stories, not personal ones, but scary stories, because I love scary stories. But this is a story that's never been publicized until now. Like, of course, my friends knew about it. My mom knew about it because I was so scared. I just had to share the story. And some of them believed it happened. Some of them believed it didn't. To this day, it's still, like, unexplained. And what better time to tell this terrifying story and but spooky season. So I just felt like it'd be fascinating for people to hear like my perspective of what happened. Because again, it could have all been sensationalized, dramatized. I'm a very dramatic person. Perhaps I just went too far with my fear and my terror that I sensationalized these things happening because that can happen. So like I said, I'm not completely discounting rational explanations for some of the stuff that happened. But at the same time, the feeling of dread. Scientifically, that feeling of dread is a primal instinct inside of the human body. So it's like, why? If this woman was not this entity or evil, or why did I feel this dread? Or this feeling of being watched? Why did I feel this if everything was okay? To this day, I still don't know. And I probably never will. But that's a story that's definitely like sat with me. That's one of the only instances I can think of where I maybe have encountered something paranormal, such as supernatural. So like I said, if people tell me stories where they think they've encountered, demons, ghosts, goblins, I'm always fascinated because one, I wasn't there, so I can't explain it to them. Two, I have my own experience where I believe something paranormal happened, so I'm also not going to pass judgment on that. And three, those kinds of stories are kind of fascinating. I mean, like I said, there's so many unexplained things out there. who knows if there's not a 7 foot tall hairy man running around, or a giant creature in the bottom of the ocean, or space aliens looking down on us. I'm not personally looking for that stuff, but I find it fascinating. So that's my story. And if you guys have your own stories, like never be afraid to tell them. Like if there's something terrifying that you don't want to like talk about, that totally makes sense. Like it's a personal like skeleton you don't want let out of the closet. So you don't feel like you have to. But I know some people are afraid that they're gonna get judged. People are gonna call them crazy kooks or nut jobs or whatever. But I always find those stories fascinating because now that I've had my own since encounter, I do believe evil exists, and we have to be very careful with what we interact with because we do not know what we're inviting in. And whether you believe in the physical, corporeal, whatever, I still believe negative energy can exist. I believe we can invite dark energy into our lives. That can happen. Because think about it. I don't think good luck and bad luck exist, but it does seem ominous when certain energy is into your life and things start going bad. So that's definitely something that I feel like it can be a thing. So you'll never see me doing tarot readings. You'll never see me getting my fortune told. You'll never see me again. I'm not judging people who do that. You do you. But me personally will not be doing that. I will be reading a Ouija board, using a spirit box, or not a spirit box, but like I might go ghost hunting, but I'll never like physically use objects that I personally believe may be inviting something in. Like I'll never do that. Again, if you do that, you know what, knock yourself out, have fun. But me personally, just won't do it myself. So I'm not going to be one to pass judgment on anyone who's had these kinds of experiences. And even now, my freaking hands are shaking just recalling that story. But you know what? It feels good to get it off my chest because it's like it's kind of helping you come to terms with it and kind of like therapeutically recover from that story. Because to this day, like I mean, people who know me as like I'm a horror buff, so already I'm kind of inviting dark energy in because I'm watching stuff about demons and ghosts and goblins and serial killers and slashers, and so it's like I'm definitely an interesting character. I'm a man of faith, but I also like this stuff, so I'm definitely an interesting character, that's for sure. But I do believe that that can happen, and it was a lot of fun to tell this story. I kind of got inspired to do this by watching a YouTuber called Mr. Balin. For those of you who don't know, he's a guy who tells true scary stories and like talks about disappearances and like missing person cases and unsolved mysteries. And he has a good cadence, which I actually realized I started going into in this video, and that was not my intention. But he said he's got such a nice cadence and tone that I almost was emulating that when I was telling the story. So, Mr. Ballin, I apologize. I was not trying to steal your stick because I love your videos, but I did notice me starting to get into your cadence. I'm not trying to do that. So, I'm trying to be my own like narrator, talking person. But I did notice that because it's a very nice like way he talks, the way he carries his voice. But he inspired me to talk about this because I think it's such a fascinating thing to put that story out there, and some people might be into this. Like, some people are into unexplained stories and paranormal stories and supernatural stories, and some people are into this kind of content. I'm into this kind of content, so this is definitely something new. But also, this is something I thought about doing. I don't have a lot of scary stories, but I think it'd be so cool to like read people's personal stories or like tell people's personal stories in kind of a manner like Mr. Ballin does. And there's other YouTubers who also do it, like Mr. Nightmare, Mr. Ballin. There's a lot of YouTubers who have their own kind of like shtick, gimmick, tone, cadence in which they present these stories. So I've kind of always liked that, and it looks like a lot of fun. And so I thought about doing that myself, but I don't know if I'm exactly a narrating kind of person. Like I don't know if people would like my voice in that sense, or if I could even do a voice in that kind of tone or cadence. But this was kind of a tester to see how that would go if that ever happened, because this is my own personal story. So I figured, why not put it out there, see what people think, get people's opinions. And if people call me a quack, that's totally fine. I don't really care. People can call me crazy because they're like, that's a new nut job. Why'd you have that? Whatever. You believe what you want to believe. I'm just telling you my own personal story, and that's how I see it. So, but I've always thought it would be so cool to read these stories. I want to start reading like Reddit horror stories and like doing like a subsection of my channel where I kind of do that. or like maybe I post these to YouTube or whatever. So this was just a tester to see if people would enjoy that kind of content, and because I enjoy that kind of content, and I'd like to present some of that content because I am a horror enthusiast. So it's like, why not put some of that passion back into what I love doing? Because people know that it's been a rough week because I haven't streamed in like a week or more. It's been a while since the last time I streamed, so this stream is probably awkward because it's like not only is he not playing a game, he's just talking. So I'm sure, and for like the first 15 minutes, his mic wasn't plugged in because he's unprofessional, but and stupid. But this is definitely a different kind of style than people are probably used to coming from me. So they're probably like, why is he just talking? It's odd. He usually plays like a horror game or he sucks at Apex or something. And so this was definitely something new. This was something I've been sitting on thinking about for a while. And so I just wanted to do this and see what people think. And kind of sit back, see what kind of reactions we get out of people. Because this is something that's fun. I think this is a lot of fun. So I'd kind of like to do a subsection or a sub-series of my channel where I talk about scary stuff, specifically. I think it'd be kind of fun. So if you guys got your own personal stories and you'd like someone to share them, feel free to like send me a whisper, send me a chat. I'll go to my YouTube, send me a personal message there, and feel comfortable telling your stories, and I will absolutely share them. Naturally, you don't gotta share your real name. You don't gotta and of course, naturally, you're going to get credit because it's not my story. I'm not taking anybody else's stories. I'm just telling the story that someone else wrote. So if you guys want your stories told, but you're not comfortable enough to present them yourselves, like enter an alias and tell me your story, and I'll be happy to share it. And maybe we can make a subsection, a sub-series about this because I love talking about this. This was a lot of fun. And this is probably the most passionate I've been about. Not that I'm not passionate about the gaming section of streaming, but like this is something that's personally, like gaming, endearing to me. So I feel like this would be a lot of fun to kind of do and to kind of figure out my own cadence and own narration tone and how I like to present stories and talk about them. Like these are small little subsections, couple like 30-minute, 40-minute video where I'm just talking about people's personal experiences or talking about scary stories. Heck, you could even write a scary story and I'll just tell your story. So and like I'm a small channel, so if you're not comfortable sharing that with the public, then I understand. But I'm a small channel, so if you have no problem sharing with a smaller whatever, I will naturally tell your story, and you can enter an alias, and I will give you full credit because, like I said, I'm not here to take other people's stories. If I was going to present my own stories, you're gonna know that I'm presenting my own stories. Just like I am making a horror story based on my encounter at this fair. So it's gonna be, of course, the story is gonna be sensationalized, dramatized past what I've told you, but I'm working on a personal horror story, like writing one, based around my encounter with this entity. So hopefully you guys are going to enjoy that, look forward to that, because eventually that's going to be told, it's going to be typed, and just like this video, it's going to be a video just like this, where I'm going to tell that story. So if you guys like this kind of content, please leave a follow, go check out my YouTube page. I'll probably upload this to my YouTube page, because my YouTube page is primarily horror content, so naturally, I feel like people would be kind of fascinated that's on my YouTube channel to hear that personal story. So I will be uploading to that channel as well. And, yeah, guys, that's my story. And like I said, take it with a grain of salt. Believe it, don't believe it. Call me a quack. Call me a sane person. Hopefully you just enjoyed, because that was the whole reason that I told you this story. Because it doesn't matter if people believe it or not. I just think it's an interesting story, because I believe it was a real encounter. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. And that's probably going to do it for this one. I'll probably be back on streaming. You'll probably find me streaming on YouTube tonight, because I haven't streamed on YouTube personally in a while. I've been doing most of my streams on Twitch because I'm trying to reach affiliate. But still got a ways to go with that, guys and gals. So I'll probably go ahead and take a step back and do a stream on YouTube tonight. So look forward to that. Actually, in the next while, I'll probably do a stream on YouTube. It'll probably be from the PlayStation, so you're not going to see my nice setup because I ain't got a lot of games on the PC. But I need to get something set up in the background of my PlayStation camera so that it actually makes me wonder if my Razer Cam would work on my PlayStation so that I could have... Does anybody know that? Does anybody know if that would work? if I unplugged my Razer thing and plugged it into my PS5, would that camera work as a camera? Because naturally, this would be much better quality than that freaking crappy PS5 camera. Plus, you'd be able to see like the environment around me, and it'd feel more like an intuitive stream, unlike the what is now. I'm curious. I need to get better camera quality for the streams on the PlayStation because I stream a lot of. I have most of the horror games I have and content is on the PlayStation, and I don't feel like dragging my PlayStation in here to put on the monitor. I really don't feel like doing that because I like having a large television. Like again, I can have a large television in here, but I mean like it's in my living room. I like the raw experience of like sitting far back in a chair with a controller, having a large screen to play with. Like I enjoy that kind of gameplay experience. So a lot of times I struggle like with how I sit at a computer, sit at a PC. So I definitely look into better camera quality for also in setting up kind of a setting in my living room so that I can stream and have like a background like this because naturally I feel more comfortable being in this kind of setting because it feels like my little office space. This is my little personal nook. This is all my identifying stuff. Like you can see my Funko Pops in that corner over there. There. You can see my freaking Obi-Wan poster here. You can see my Wolverine poster here. Attack on Titan, Chainsaw Man, Mothman. You can see all that stuff, and it kind of is like my own personal identity. And of course, you got the Batman. But and there's like an owl right there. But yeah, that's gonna probably do it for this one, guys. Look forward to a stream on YouTube after I get situated here. I'm gonna stream on YouTube, and I hope you guys enjoyed the story. And like I said, I would like to do this kind of content more often. So if you guys want to see this, please leave a follow. Please chat, whisper me personally, saying like, "Hey man, I liked the content. Keep up the good work." Or nah, fam, stop doing that crap. It was boring. So regardless, I want to hear your opinions on this kind of content being like a subsection of my channel, like something I do on like a weekend or something, maybe, or a couple days a week, because it's much smaller, more digestible content. So if you guys want to see that, please let me know. And like I said, this will be uploaded to YouTube, and you can check me out on YouTube as well. Like, comment, and subscribe if you like horror content, because YouTube's got plenty of that. And yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. As always, please reach out to family members who are being harmed and affected during this hurricane season, because boy oh boy has poor Florida and all of those states down near the coastline, even up to here, being hammered with wind and rain and hail, and people and houses are being destroyed. So please reach out. If you can donate, please donate what you can. If you can't donate, at least share the links to the donations so that other people can also help. If you're able to help physically, mentally, emotionally, psychologically, any way you can help these people that are dealing with this tragedy, please reach out. Also, as always, if you are struggling with mental health and you're struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out to the hotline. Those people are there to help you. They care about you personally. That is why they're in that position, because they truly want to help people get through their emotions, through their feelings. So never feel like you're alone. Never feel like you're not loved or cared for. Reach out to the hotline. Reach out to your friends. If you have problems and are not able to do either one of those things, one thing I would like you to do is whenever you start to get into this mental headspace, whenever you start to struggle with your social anxiety and you start to diverge towards these more suicidal thoughts, please write down everything that you're passionate about, or everything, or all the people in your life that you're friends with. Naturally, you're struggling in your head, so you're going to think nobody loves you. But I want you to make a raw list when you're in the mindset of people who love and care about you, and I want you to pin it on the wall, somewhere in sight of your normal, like, visual whatever. Pin that on the wall in sight so that when you start to get into this mindset, you can look at this list, see the things you're passionate about, and the people who love you. Naturally, when you're in that mindset, it's not always going to help, but sometimes seeing that might be just a little bit of a push to try to help you stand back on your feet. You never know. It's a good behaviorism, though, because it's spreading positivity, it's spreading energy, it's letting you know that you are loved and cared for, and is letting you know your worth, and that there are things in this life that you're passionate about. So when you're in a good mindset, like you're in a good state of mind, write these things down and pin them on your wall or anywhere nearby in your personal peripheral, like anywhere you know you're going to look on a regular basis, just eye level somewhere. So that if you start to struggle with this mindset, you can see these things and realize you are a human being, you are loved, you are cared for, and you matter. Because you do. Just a word of advice. I'd like to think it helps some friends of mine. Me, for instance, I struggle with those kind of things. So please do that. Family members, reach out to loved ones who you know struggle with this kind of thing. Let them know they're loved and cared for. Give them their space, but also be there when they need you. And as always, stay calm, keep chill, my peeps. And I will catch all you spooky sons of guns in the next stream, whenever that is. What the fudge? Completely unrelated. You're here late to the story. I just told a spooky story and you're sending weird stuff in the chat. Yeah, you missed story time, bro. All good, man. I'm literally about to... I'm editing. Oh, nice. Also, in your video with that TikTok, when you said giving me the finger, I literally thought you were going to flip me off. I thought you were going to put my window, like, off to the side and you were just going to go, I thought that's what you meant when it said giving him the finger. No, you were just poking me. What the fudge, dude? Did I say you could poke me with your finger? Did I say that could happen? Nah, man, that was funny, though. But in all honesty, I thought you were just going to be like, and just freaking flip me off. I appreciate that, dude, though, because I've actually got some people looking at the TikTok now because you posted that. Also, I need to edit. I don't edit anything. I'm a lazy son of a gun who live streams. I don't even edit the videos I upload to YouTube. I'm a lazy son of a gun. I ain't got a whole lot of time, man. To use the built-in feature on Twitch. There's a built-in feature. Well, does that answer your question? Well, I kind of assumed there was probably a built-in feature on Twitch because I've been messing around with Twitch's stuff trying to get all my, like, stuff set up for uploading. Yes. That I'm aware of. I just haven't messed with the videos I've uploaded to YouTube yet. Because they're live streams, so I just kind of upload them. It is so good. Yeah, I need to start doing that for certain videos that I want to edit. Like this one, for instance. Because I'm uploading this one to YouTube because I told a personal story about what I believe was an encounter with something evil. And, like, I gotta edit this to be, like, set the mood, make it all scary. Because I'm telling this in the middle of the day, so it's sunny and nice and inviting. But I just wanted to tell my story because I actually had time, so... Plus, people can see my setting, my background a little better. Because it is so bright outside. Which I will be streaming on YouTube here in a short while, because I haven't streamed on YouTube directly in a long time. So I'm going to be doing that. Don't know what I'm streaming yet, but I'm going to be streaming from my PlayStation to YouTube, because I haven't done that in a hot second. But yeah, I knew there was an editing software because I've uploaded or exported videos to YouTube. I don't know how my YouTube streaming set up yet. Excuse me. I haven't done it either, but like I don't have a setup for it, like personally yet. I just have a face cam. Nothing's really set up for it. I just go live on YouTube because that's what I used to go live on. Before I started doing Twitch more often, a lot of my videos on YouTube were me just live streaming like horror games. And like making it like episodic. Like I'd play like for an hour, 2 hours. Like stop it, edit the title, make it a part, move on from that one. So they're not edited videos either. But yeah, I appreciate that, man. I appreciate my, like, any kind of streaming platform. People say my name, people put my name out there. I appreciate it in any way, shape, or form. And vice versa, because I do the same for you guys as well. especially because I haven't streamed in like a week. So I know I've lacked motivation and need to stay more motivated so I can be more consistent with streaming. Because my butt didn't stream for a while. Life kind of happened. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. I will be streaming on YouTube here soon. If you guys want to see more content like this, if you guys have your own stories that you'd like me to tell and you don't feel comfortable telling them yourself, or you want someone to narrate them for you and to get it out in the public eye, send me a whisper or send me a chat. Maybe I'll put an email in here for long term if this gets recognized enough. Right now it's brand new and no one's watching, so it's like I ain't gonna freaking do that now. That'll be a thing if it ever becomes prominent. But yeah, this is going to be a possible sub-series of me telling scary stories and setting the spooky mood because I'm a horror enthusiast. So it's like, naturally, I'm going to share this kind of content. And I love YouTubers like Mr. Ballin, Mr. Nightmare, Mr. Creepypasta, Creeps McPasta, Mr. Creeps, Dark Somnium, Corpse Husband, so on and so forth. Do I need to say more? So I enjoy that kind of content and I want to share that kind of content because I think it's cool and it's fun and I'm passionate about it. So yeah, please check out the YouTube page. I will also be streaming there today. And as always, stay calm, keep chill, my peeps, and I will catch you guys in the next stream, whenever that is, because you never know. Because LJ doesn't have a consistent schedule and likes to stream whenever the freaky wants. Anyways, guys, love you all so much. Stay calm, keep chill, and I will catch you guys in the next stream. Peace out.